My name is Marion Oliver. I'm here today wearing two different hats. One is that many years ago I worked as a clinical psychologist for the health service for more than 35 years, specialising in adult mental health. The other reason for me standing in front of you is that I'm also a GIST patient, but I'll talk about that a bit more later on. So here's the title of my talk today: Sailing the Seven Seas with Psychology. Catchy title, isn't it? So let's go back to that first slide. I wonder where you are in that picture. Are you riding the crest of the wave? Are you underneath the wave, feeling you're about to drown? Are you on the boat? Or are you on that little mountain at the back, looking down on it all from a very great height? What I'm going to be doing today is taking you on a journey. And as several people have already said, I never knew GIST was had a variety of causes and effects on individuals. Every one of you will have had a different journey. Every one of you will be grappling with something different. But there'll be certain elements that will overlap. The journey you're on isn't in a straight line. It goes forward and back, and you revisit things that you've visited before. So, our 7 C's that we're going to be crossing. Our first C is C for crisis. A crisis is an unexpected trigger event. It causes distress. But then I don't have to tell you that, do I? It feels dangerous. It feels as though you've lost something important. It's uncontrollable by you. It disrupts your routine. It disrupts your life. And it creates uncertainty about your future. You don't know what is to come. It has a whole lot of other effects too. It disrupts your sleep. I expect any number of you have lain awake at 3 a.m, wondering what's going on, what's going to happen next. Those are the times of the day when the thoughts go round and round, bleak and miserable, and you can feel very much alone. There are physical symptoms associated with crisis. I was experiencing quite a few when I was sitting back there waiting to come up here. A lot of them are caused by a hormone called adrenaline. And adrenaline, as you probably know, is secreted by the adrenal glands, which are tucked away somewhere in your abdomen. I'm a psychologist, I don't do medicine, so it's down here somewhere. And the effects of adrenaline, as I'm just realising, last about 20 minutes, and the medics amongst you, your toes will curl with this. But one squirt of adrenaline lasts about 20 minutes. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't put it back in the gland, you've just got to sit it out. And adrenaline will cause various symptoms: increased heart rate, tension, sweating, shaking, need to go to the toilet, feeling sick. You will know how it affects you. It's probably the way you sit, how you feel when you sit to see the oncologist before you get the result of that scan. You know it only too well. And each of you will have a different pattern of symptoms. It will affect us all in different ways. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just that we're all different. It gives us feelings of unreality, disbelief. This can't be happening to me. Not again, for some of you, very much. Not again, not something else. It affects your concentration, and I'm afraid it can make you feel quite ratty. Our second C that we have to cross is cancer. Cancer threatens 4 areas of our psychological needs. Our need for security. The world suddenly becomes a very unsafe, uncertain place. It affects how we see ourselves, the person we are. We're never quite the same again. Never again will you be the person who hasn't had a diagnosis. You will also always have this label round your neck. It's with you forever. It affects what you do or what you hope to do. Will you be able to go on holiday? Will you be able to do your job? Will you earn enough money to support everybody? Will you be able to walk the dog? When I was diagnosed 17 years ago, our son and daughter-in-law were expecting our first grandchild. And in my ignorance, not having discovered Gist Cancer UK, I thought, well, that's it. I would give anything to see this baby born. Well, that baby is now taking her GCSEs. She's tall and lovely, and she's bigger than I am. So, aren't I the lucky one? Cancer also affects our relationships. We find that people that we thought we could rely on actually don't want to know. And people we would never have dreamt of step up to them at the mark and are there for us, ready with a shoulder to cry on, a tissue to dry our eyes, and a listening ear to hear all our fears. And of course, we create a whole knot of new relationships with our oncologist, our specialist nurse, and the people you see in this room. Cancer causes deep anxiety and fear within most of us. And it's at this point I really must say that what you face is an abnormal situation. If you feel anxious, if you feel miserable, that is entirely normal under the circumstances, not the other way around. You're not the abnormal one, the situation is. So at least 33%, a third of us, one in every 3, will have anxiety to quite a large extent, on and off, throughout our long journey. And the anxiety that comes a bit later, after that first crisis has passed, is that low, rather grinding feeling within, that you feel down and miserable and worried. Worried rather than perhaps fearful, not that anxious it's going to happen any minute when you go in to see the oncologist, but that sort of day in, day out, miserable feeling. Cancer also triggers grief and low mood. I remember after the diagnosis feeling unutterably sad. And if anybody had asked me why, I wouldn't have been able to say. But what it was something to do with, I'd lost something important. I'd lost my health, and that's precious. But with a diagnosis of cancer comes all sorts of other questions. Quite often a search for meaning. Why did I get cancer? Was it anything I've done? Well, some of those questions may have been answered this afternoon. We may attempt to gain control, to look after ourselves better, perhaps to eat better, to drink a little less, give up cigarettes if that's relevant, to live a more wholesome life, and that can't be bad. We might also compare ourselves with others, seeing other people as in a better position or a worse one than ourselves, and gaining a very different perspective. So there's somebody who thought that their gist was pretty serious when it was fairly small, may be amazed to find people who have grapefruit-sized ones. Why do doctors talk about fruit? Tangerines and grapefruits, lucky not pineapples. Compassion. is our third C. What is compassion? Treating yourself and others with kindness, care, and understanding. If somebody you loved was breaking their heart or worried to death, you wouldn't tell them to get a grip. You'd be kind, you'd be gentle, you'd sit with them, you'd put an arm round. And so it is with yourselves when you're having a bad day, and I'd like to bet you all have bad days from time to time, whether you're a patient, whether you're a nearest or dearest, whoever you may be, even the medical people amongst us, they'll have bad days too, for different reasons, I hope. But treat yourselves kindly. Be gentle with yourselves. Because believe it or not, it doesn't make us worse if you say, I'm going to have a pajama day today. It helps. Accepting your emotions and the ups and downs, it makes you less anxious. You give yourself permission to worry. Of course I'm worried. Who wouldn't be under the circumstances? I'm normal. This is how you respond. Give yourself permission to worry, to be sad, and you'll find it blows itself out all the quicker. You'll be less miserable. You'll be more able to cope with adversity, and you'll look after yourself better by giving yourself a break. Our fourth C today is coping. And this is where I sneak in an extra little C. That bloke there, that's Chris Hoy. You will probably have heard about him. He's the Olympic rower, a gold medal winner. Sir Chris, indeed. He was also fairly recently diagnosed with prostate cancer and was given a very poor prognosis. Last autumn, he wrote a book, co-authored with his wife and a ghostwriter, called All That Matters. And in there is the best account I have ever read of somebody getting a diagnosis of cancer. He describes very clearly being utterly poleaxed, not just by the diagnosis, but the prognosis he was given, and falling apart, crying bitterly for days, even weeks, and being allowed to do so before the training he'd been getting over all the years kicked in and allowed him to slowly drag himself up. And what I have to say for the next section comes really from him and his book and the various TV interviews that he gave. As he looked into the black hole and tried to work out what was going to come, he was reminded it might be happening in the future, but it's not here yet. Sorry. And his wife rather curtly said, "You're not drowning, so you've got to swim. So kick, get to the surface and swim." And his advice to those who read his book was to gather a group around you, a group of people whom you can rely on. Your oncologist, I know some of you don't have one, but you deserve one. The specialist nurse, the friends who are there and who understand. Get them around you. There are about 60 of them in the room today. They're all around you. Build a toolbox of coping skills. Now you know what works for you. You've been through crises and desperate times before. You know what works for you and what doesn't. It may be going out for a walk with the dog. It may be knitting. It may be watching TV. It may be sewing. It may be praying or meditating. Do what works for you. Use logic to deal with the fears and emotions, facts to replace imaginings. I might imagine that an elephant is going to walk through that door any minute, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I might imagine that something desperate's going to happen in the next few weeks, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Use facts, not imaginings. We have the capacity to imagine the most awful things. Control the controllables. There are many things in your life that you can't get on top of. You can't control what's going on inside your cells. But you can control how you live, what you do, who you spend time with, what you eat, what you drink, what cheers you up. You can do all those things to improve the matters. Chris Hoy describes his chemotherapy, not in huge detail, but he opted to have something called cold cap therapy in conjunction. I can see some nodding heads who know probably more about it than I do. While he was having his chemotherapy, so he didn't lose his hair. He wanted to do this for the sake of his children, who didn't want him to go home looking bald. And he said, I haven't got much hair, but what I have is precious to us all. So he underwent this cold cap therapy while he was going through the chemo. And he describes it very clearly as being agonizing. And on one session, it lasted not just an hour, but 2, even more. And how he had to hang on, not hour by hour, but minute by minute, watching the clock tick round and thinking, that's another minute gone, that's another minute gone, I'm still here, I can do it, I can do it. And he was hanging on by his fingernails till at last the therapy ended and the cap came off, and he took the rest of the day to recover. And sometimes, I guess that's you too. Hanging on by your fingernails, not even day by day, but hour by hour, when things are particularly bad. But it's amazing how we manage. I keep banging on about it, but diet, fresh air, whatever exercise you enjoy, or not, music, pets, gardening, big nature, the ocean, the mountains, the forests. Seek out that which does good for you and use it. That's how you cope. You know what works for you. You're the expert on you, nobody else. Some of the most moving words that Chris wrote down were these. The reality of your life is now, today. The past is but a memory. The future is simply a thought. So live today, this very day, and enjoy what you can in it. Live in the here and now and squeeze what pleasures you can. Most of what we fear doesn't happen. Set targets and goals for yourself. It may be small. It may be just getting out of bed and cleaning your teeth some days. Other days, you may even clean the house if you're really desperate. But don't bury your head in the sand. Plan for the future, whatever it may hold. Yes, we have to be positive, but we also have to be realistic. And getting that balance is the great secret. And in his words, crack on. There's a lot of life to live. Sorry about that. Had to get the C in somewhere. Quality of life. What brings us our quality of life? Well, there are various things. None of it rocket science, you'll know most of it. Your physical health, as much as you can get at the moment. Psychological well-being, looking after your mind as well as your body. Your relationships with others. because they're important to us. We're social animals for the most part. Your independence, doing as much as you can, but not more than you can. Walking that tightrope between pushing yourself, but not too much. Your environment, making sure that it's as pleasant and as comfortable as you want it to be. We all have our different ways of living in our own homes. Make sure that yours is the way you want it to be. And finding a reason for being here, something to get up for in the morning. It may just be walking the dog. It may be cuddling the grandchild or the daughter or the son. It doesn't matter. A reason to be here. This is a tool for thinking. It's to prod some reflections in yourselves, all of you, every single one, about what constitutes a balanced life. And this was one suggestion by a psychotherapist who divided our lives into 9 different parts. Of course, our family, our friends, our relationship, that's our significant other. Work, hobbies, leisure. You know, leisure's watching telly at the end of the day, hobbies is going horse riding, or not. Having time alone, personal growth, learning something new, and making some sort of contribution to society. As I said, we're not laying down the law here, we're just offering it to you as something to think about and to try on with your own lives. Now, I know perfectly well that many of us don't have a significant other. Many of us don't have a job. And that doesn't matter in the sense that your life is automatically unbalanced. But take a moment to reflect how much of your time and energy goes into which boxes. Are there some boxes that are left out completely? And you wish they weren't? Is there anything you can do to redress that balance? It is possible, and I know I speak from very personal experience, that when my significant other looked after me when I'd just come home from hospital, he had no time for himself whatsoever. He spent the whole time caring for me, and I was very grateful. Now, I'm pleased to say, I don't see him very much. Not because I don't want to, because he's busy balancing his boxes, and that's good. But it's an interesting thing to think about, to reflect on your quality of life. My 7th C is community. And that's us. Just for now, we're part of the same community, part of the same family. And that's what we're here to do. To pull you up from the depths of the water, to bring you out into the sunlight as far as we possibly can. And to remind you over and over again, you're not alone. Thank you all.